All right, hello everyone, good evening and welcome into a Friday, December 12th edition of KC Sports Tonight. I am Mark Poulose, joined by Katie Maher as we set the table for a big weekend ahead in the local sports scene. But we got to start with a big game. Everyone's talking about it Sunday at noon, high noon, right here on KC TV5. The 6-7 Kansas City Chiefs taking on the 9-4 Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs are 6-point favorites in this game with the over-under set at 40.5 points. And guys, it is going to be cold out there on Sunday. This is the latest data from our First Warn 5 weather team right here from the station. At tailgate time, the temperature is going to be 4 degrees. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the single digits. The feels like 0 to -5 at kickoff. We're going to rise up, really warm up to 18. Halftime 21, fourth quarter 22 degrees. Katie, I know you are going to be out there on Sunday. How are you going to prepare for that really cold air?
I'm going to wear my floor-length wool coat. I'm going to wear a scarf. I'm going to wear hats. I'm going to wear gloves. I might bring 2 pairs of gloves. I'm going to bring fuzzy socks in my boots. I'm not ready. I was going to say I'm ready, but I'm really not because I'm going to be freezing no matter what. More prayers for Neil Jones, though, because Neil's going to be out there for the game. But him and I will both be live from the sideline from 10 to 11 in our Price Chopper Game Day pregame show.
Yeah.
So I won't be surprised if anyone sees me on the field. Like, in between my live shots, I might be running up into the tunnel and just kind of hanging in there with the security guards for a while.
Boy,
that might be how I do it.
Well, I know it might be your plan. I know it, and I know at some of the games last year, the AFC Championship game against the Bills, that one was so cold. And I know after the game, we were all out there waiting to do live shots, and me, Neil, and Marlia, in between, we would run inside to that tunnel, and in the tunnel, it was like 20 degrees. But it felt so much warmer than on the field, which was like 0. So certainly everyone out there, please stay safe if you're going on Sunday. I know it's a big game. I know a lot of people are going to be there. I know emotions are going to be high. But the number one thing, please be safe out there. Here are a couple
I don't want
things
to see anyone shirtless in this.
Yeah,
don't prove
the only
any points.
news story that we need out of this is a Chiefs win or a Chiefs loss. We do not need any personal problems for any people out there. Here are some good news, some things that you can bring inside the stadium to keep you warm. You can bring in blankets, but they cannot have zippers. They cannot have compartments, and then you have to drape it over your shoulder when you take it in, so security can make sure that you're obviously not bringing in anything else. You can kind of keep everyone safe. Also, you can take cardboard to stand on, and I know some people might think this is very funny. I've done the story 2, 3, 4 years in a row here at KCTV5 about when it's cold out there, and doctors recommend bring that piece of cardboard because that separation between your feet and the concrete, it is so vital to keeping your feet from not freezing. So I know that the bringing cardboard might sound kind of odd, but please do it. It definitely will help you.
I always say, like, when in cold situations, I'll prefer to wear boots over sneakers because my boots typically have like more
separation
material between the ground and my foot. So it's true.
Now, so we all know the Chiefs going into this game, they are 6-7. A loss would all but eliminate them, or I think it probably would eliminate them from postseason contention. But Katie, the Chiefs really banged up going into this one. Left tackle, back up to the backup left tackle, Wanye Morris. He is out dealing with a knee injury. Jawan Taylor, the starting right tackle, second highest paid player on the team. He is continuing to deal with injuries to both his triceps and his knee. He is also out for Sunday's game. Also, right guard Trey Smith, a Pro Bowl player, one of the best right guards in all of football. He is out as he continues to deal with ankle issues. And then today, a new one popped up for us. Wide receiver Hollywood Brown, one of the Chiefs, key contributors there in their receiving core. He is out with a personal issue. Katie, I know you were out there at the facility today. What were some of the big takeaways that we heard from decision makers today? And then what would you say is the emotional vibe right now of the facility? What's the pulse out there?
Oof. I mean, that was kind of, if you watched my 5 o'clock story, you would have heard about how Juju Smith-Schuster, Mr. Positivity on the team, is kind of filling that role and, uplifting the younger guys who've only been in Kansas City for a few years, who've only been in the NFL for a few years. And, I mean, Juju's a guy who has been on other teams in the NFL and knows a thing or two about being below 500, about not going to the playoffs, about not going to the Super Bowl. So he kind of said that, like, I've been where the grass isn't greener. So it was interesting to hear how, like, he is kind of being that lean. We know he's the veteran leader of that receiver group, but how, like, his knowledge of losing, I guess is the best way to put it. No offense to Juju. It's obviously not his fault his teams have lost, but he's been in losing places. How his knowledge is kind of helping the younger guys. And, you can't expect a Super Bowl every year in the NFL with how much parity there is. But, when Andy Reid, it's Fast Friday, so we only talked to Andy Reid for usually less than 2 minutes. Today we got 2.5 minutes. It was crazy. But he said, he talked about Esapole, who didn't get a start last week, but because Wanye Morris was out on the very first snap of the game, Esapole basically played the entire game at left tackle, and he did a decent job. I mean, for starters, I'm going to point out the obvious. Patrick Mahomes didn't hold on to the ball for very long because that was in the game plan that he not hold on to the ball for very long against the number one defensive line in the league. But I think that Esapole played well, like for what the assignment was. Now there's tape on him, which Matt Nagy kind of brought that up the other day, so I think that'll be interesting. If we see a major difference in how he plays this week with getting his first start. Undrafted free agent. We were looking him up earlier out of Washington State. Andy Reid didn't go into the details with Hollywood Brown at all. He just said, he's going to be out. Or not that he's going to be out, but that he wouldn't be practicing. And he was asked, do you expect Hollywood Brown to play? And he said no. So we don't know what's going on with Hollywood Brown. Hope all is well. He was at practice yesterday. But yeah, and along the lines of Trey Smith, Juwan Taylor's been a healthy scratch all week. He hasn't practiced, but Trey Smith did practice on Wednesday and Thursday. He was limited. And Andy Reid said, he tried, he did his best. He didn't have a setback this week with his injury, which is at least good. It didn't get worse, but it's just still not good enough for him to play.
Well, and then I also think, speaking specifically about Trey dealing with high and low ankle injuries, they can tape up for the low, but a high ankle sprain, you're out there, it's going to be so cold. So much of what he does relies on power and moving guys. And I know Trey Smith, I think it probably his best trait, his best attribute is his incredible first step. And if he's not feeling well in the ankle, you take away the guy's biggest strength, it's going to be hard for him to play football. And we know Trey, obviously an NFL Ironman. He's played almost every game that he could have until his recent injuries this year. Hopefully that turns out well for the Chiefs. But guys, this really is such a huge game there on Sunday. If the Chiefs lose, I really don't know if they have a path to the playoffs.
It's a less than 1% chance.
Yeah, less than 1% chance. So you don't want to say it's over till it's over, but so much about this team, and I know a lot of the fan base, I know a lot of the team, it kind of seems like everyone's kind of looking around, waiting for someone to make a play, waiting for someone to turn it on. But it's just like this team has to start writing its own history, and if they don't write their own history soon and kind of turn things on, the history of this team is going to be that this is where maybe potentially the dynasty ended, where the Chiefs streak ended. They're going to have to find a way to reinvent themselves, because I know going into this year, a lot of people were talking about after that Super Bowl loss that now we're entering the second era of Patrick Mahomes' tenure here in Kansas City. That first era with all those Super Bowls is over. Now the team, they're paying certain players. The way the cap is going to break out, it's just different. The team roster construction is different, and now it really hasn't been that good so far this year for the Chiefs. We'll see what happens out there on Sunday. Obviously, we're going to have a whole crew out there. We'll have a full recap of that game coming up Sunday night on KC Sports Tonight, and as well as our previews coming up tomorrow on KC Sports Tonight on Saturday. But that's not the only thing going on here in the Kansas City sports scene. Also today, the Royals reportedly agreed to a 5-year extension with all-star third baseman Maikel Garcia. Now, guys, for me, this is such a great story here for the Kansas City Royals, because Maikel Garcia is a guy that they signed not as a guy, as a child, as a 16-year-old out of Venezuela. And then 9 years later, that 16-year-old turns into an all-star. He turns into a Gold Glover, and he turns into a guy that they gave a 5-year, $57.5 million contract guaranteed, at least according to reports. So he's 25 right now, a 5-year deal, so that will lock him up ages 25 to 30, and then the team option for his age 31 season. So, Katie, to me, it sounds like the Royals locked up an all-star, a potential all-star, and a potential Gold Glover for his prime for about $10 to $12 million of a year.
Yeah,
I would give this deal an A+. What do you think?
I give it an A+ as well. When you look at how the team played this past year, he was right up there with Bobby Witt in terms of how much he meant to the team, his productivity, and in terms of being one of the best players on the team. You want to keep your best players, and Maikel Garcia is at an age where it's not worth the trade, things like that. So I think keeping him here in Kansas City is the best possible move. He really proved himself to be a utility player. Like, he's not just a third baseman. He filled in there at short when Bobby Witt Jr. was
Played
dealing
center
with
field
some stuff.
also.
Played center field as well. Like, and then he was productive with the hits, which you can't say about a lot of Royals players these days, or in general. But yeah, I love the move. Maikel Garcia, he just good vibes for the team. I like it. A+ Royals.
Yeah, and I like what you said, how he played all over the field, but he also batted all over the lineup. This is a guy that batted first, third, fourth, fifth. I mean, he batted all over that lineup, and he was one of the best hitters on the entire team. And also, I mean, just look at the left side of this Royals infield. You now have Bobby Witt Jr., who is, I would say, probably the best player in the American League year in and year out, outside of maybe like an Aaron Judge type. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. is a top 5 position player in all of baseball. And then they have Maikel Garcia, who's 25 years old, who is an all-star, who is a Gold Glover. That is just one incredible combination. But one thing that I found very interesting when I was reading the article by Kansas City native and ESPN great Jeff Passan was that Bobby and Maikel Garcia are the 2 players who are under contract past the 2028 season. I know there's guys that are going to be arbitration eligible, so it's a little bit more of a grabby sentence than maybe the truth would be at the end. But Katie, the reason I bring this up is we all know that the Royals, they're not going to play at Kauffman Stadium in 2031. Like they said when the lease is up, like they're out of there. When you find out that they only have 2 players under contract past 2028, kind of, what do you think about that? Because to me, it's like, hey,
will there be a team?
That's a clue. I mean, it's not that there won't be a team, but it sounds like they're positioning themselves for maximum flexibility, maximum versatility. We'll kind of see what happens there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the question we've all been asking for who knows how long. Will we even get an answer by the deadline at the end of this month? Who knows? Is it going to be 119th and Null? Is it going to be Northlands? Is it going to be Legends? We can only wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, but there's some fun young players here for the Kansas City Royals, like Maikel Garcia, Carter Jensen, Jack Cagliano. But before we get off Garcia, one thing I do really want to talk about, because this is something that I don't think a lot of people in the world can do. I mean, Maikel Garcia obviously is a native Spanish speaker. He's from Venezuela. He was working so hard on his English that last year he was able to do full-on interviews in English, and I know maybe that's, but like Maikel has no idea what the reporters are going to come up and ask him. Like when we ask, hey, can we have an interview? Maikel is always available. He is always courteous. He always answers your questions, and he's a pros pro, 25 years young. Cannot wait to see what happens with him for the rest of this Royals career, and hopefully he stays in Royal Blue there for a long time. Katie, anything else on that one?
No, I agree with everything you said. In the locker room, he's always a nice guy, and that goes a mile. So.
Yeah, and you and I have been in there. Like sometimes after a Royals win or a Royals loss, like the Royals are not the most talkative group. They aren't a bunch of just like guys that are out there that are just going to, like Vinny Pasquantino will, but maybe the rest of them, you go up for an interview and I don't really know if I want to do it. Maikel Garcia always says yes. He's a pros pro, always working hard. Shout out to him. Definitely deserved that deal. Very, very happy to see that, and hopefully continued success. All right, now moving on to local college football. Boy, college football has just been producing headline after headline after headline recently, but thankfully here with the 3 local teams that we cover, they are scandal-free, run really well by great athletic departments. But here, we're going to start with the University of Missouri, because today ESPN reporter Pete Thamel says that Washington State, way out there on the West Coast, has targeted Missouri offensive coordinator Kirby Moore to be the school's next head coach. The sides are working towards a deal that's expected to come together today. He's the former wide receiver coach at Boise and former Fresno State offensive coordinator. Now, Coach Moore, Kirby Moore, joined the Tigers staff in January 2023 and has really, think about Missouri's seasons the last couple of years. Their offense has been one of the best, and it has performed very, very well. And I think about the running backs, think about the offensive line. Katie, to me, this is a sign of a good, healthy program that other programs want to poach your coordinators. I know maybe some people are worried, but big picture-wise, this is a good thing for Mizzou that people want your talent.
Yeah, it's a good thing and a bad thing, because now if he does leave, you got to find a new offensive coordinator. But I think there's something to be said for offensive coordinators who succeed in running the football and who succeed in building running backs from the time that they're young. I mean, Ahmad Hardy's only a sophomore, and he's a top 3 finalist for the Doak Walker Award this year. So I think that says a lot about, what they've been able to build offensively speaking. But I think there's becoming an increasing desire in wanting to hire guys who can run the football well, because that's where football starts at the line of scrimmage. And there were a couple years where running backs weren't valued as much in the NFL, and we know all about that. And all of a sudden, it seems like we're kind of moving back towards that direction. Mizzou has proven to be a team that is known for having good running backs and being able to run the football really well, and with Bo Pribula, mobile quarterback. So it's a good thing because it means that Mizzou is up there, like you said, as a school that they want to poach the coaches from, but also who's next, who's going to fill that role. And if so, like, they're going to have fun with a guy like Ahmad Hardy in the backfield. But yeah, it's a desirable job for sure because of how good Mizzou's offense has been in recent years.
Well, I think I'm kind of surprised that more people weren't going after Coach Moore just because of the way that Missouri has succeeded this year. I mean, think about some of the things that they had to do. I mean, they didn't really know who their quarterback was going to be going into the season. Was it going to be Sam Horn or was it going to be Bo Pribula? Injury to Sam Horn, so then they insert Bo Pribula. And as the season went on, we kind of saw Pribula is a dual threat quarterback, but he's much more effective, obviously, as a runner. If you get Pribula in pass first situations, it's going to be a win for the defense. And we saw, though, the University of Missouri win games this year with a freshman quarterback in Matt Zollers. We saw the University of Missouri win a game at Arkansas where Bo Pribula threw for 25 yards passing. I mean, these are things that just don't make sense. And then you look at the trench play, specifically the offensive line there for Missouri. I mean, last year, Armand Mimbu drafted to the New York Jets. You look at Caden Green, who's probably going to be a day 1, day 2 pick here once again. You see some of these other guys. Like, Missouri has done a very good job of evaluating players on the offensive side of the ball. And now one of these guys, Coach Kirby Moore, who has been so involved in the offense here since 2023, he's going to leave. But if there's one thing that Coach Drink is really good at doing is motivating a group of guys, I think he's going to be able to find a guy to implement the type of system that he wants to run. We know Coach Drink obviously has a background on the offensive side of the football. I think whoever he brings in for this offensive coordinator interview, they're going to have to know the X's and O's, and they're going to have to know the type of offense that Coach Drink wants to run. And hey, just as Katie said, there's going to be Ahmad Hardy, there's going to be Jamal Roberts, there's going to be an excellent offensive line, so there are going to be great pieces to work with there at Missouri. But hey, kind of cool to see that other programs want to poach from the local programs here, because that means the local programs are doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. But yesterday, K-State announced 2 local hires to their football department. We're going to start with the coach on the field, former K-State and Bishop Miege standout Stanton Weber. Now, this is a guy I went to high school with at Bishop Miege. He has been going to K-State games ever since he was a kid. His dad, Stan Weber, was a quarterback at K-State. His mom was a cheerleader at K-State. I believe his older sister was a cheerleader at K-State. He played football at K-State. His little sister played volleyball at K-State. His little brother played football at K-State. This is a family that bleeds purple and silver. I mean, I remember talking to Stanton growing up about, obviously because his dad was the color commentator on the radio broadcast, about he would go to games as like a 5, 6, 7-year-old, and for radio guys, they're called like spotters or helper. They'll send him a little stat, they'll send him a little info. Stanton has been doing that at Bill Snyder Family Stadium since he was a kid. And Katie, for me, probably the coolest part about just seeing this and just knowing maybe Stanton behind the scenes is that when he was in high school, he knew that he wanted to be a coach, a football coach. Because I think it was there was a project or something that we were doing, and Stanton went on this really long, winded, really good presentation. I assume he got an A about how he wanted to be a football coach. And now all these years later, he returns to his alma mater. He's the special teams coordinator, and it's just cool to see it all come full circle. So, Katie, I know you've covered K-State, and I know that obviously a lot of people in the state of Kansas want to see Kansas guys hired at that university. But hiring a local guy, a former player in Colin Klein, and then also now Stanton Weber, how do you think this will kind of help K-State in the modern era, modern landscape of college football?
Yeah, it helps them. I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is that Colin Klein, even though he's from Colorado, he's not from Kansas, but obviously he bleeds K-State, played here, Heisman finalist, all that stuff. It's home for him. It shows his commitment to eventually recruiting in state. Because that's something that K-State has prided itself on for years. They recruit in-state hard. They get the best guys, high school football players, out of Kansas. I think obviously they have more competition now with how much better KU has been since Lance Leipold's arrival, and we've seen them get some recruiting victories in-state there. This to me shows that Colin Klein is committed to staying with what makes K-State great, and that's building Kansas natives. We've seen so many walk-ons that become, NFL players at K-State. I mean, just Jordy Nelson. DJ Ginnens is the most recent one that comes to mind. And then, so many other local guys from the KC area like Cooper Beebe, and who's currently the starting center for the Cowboys. So the list goes on. I mean, I can name a million. But yeah, I think with Colin Klein coming in and the way that college football is nowadays and how much it is about money and all that stuff, there maybe was a little bit of worry, like, oh, is he gonna adapt to this Kansas first mindset that K-State football is expected to have? And I think this shows that it does. Not only hiring a guy who's from the KC area, but a guy who his family bleeds K-State. He can recruit super well. Even our own Neil Jones talked to Stan Weber just a week ago when Chris Kleiman announced he was retiring, and he asked him, like, if Colin Klein is hired. This was, of course, before he was hired. If he's hired, like, what do you think about that? And Stan Weber went on a whole rant about just how amazing it would be for the program, and it's the perfect decision, and what an amazing guy Colin Klein is. So to me, it shows Klein's commitment to keeping it in the family, which is huge when you think about K-State's tradition and history.
Well, I love how you brought up recruiting, because so much about college football, it's all about recruiting. That's the only way that you acquire talent in the world of college football is by recruiting. And so much, I was kind of wondering maybe what would be the immediate first trickle down or first effects that we'd see of Colin Klein wanting to maybe bring a new age of college football to Manhattan, Kansas, with the hiring of a general manager, Trey Scott, a former player at Mill Valley, a former player at K-State. This is kind of the thing that we started to see happen. What would be some of their first moves? And what I saw, and some people might think this is whatever, but the signs are there. This is what I would call a clue. Downtown Kansas City, what did we see on billboards this past week? We saw a thank you, Coach Kleiman, and we saw a welcome home, Colin Klein. To me, that is presence. That is Kansas State trying to put a foothold in Kansas City. What is here in Kansas City? A bunch of really good high school football players. This is an area, I'm going to go off on this, but I don't want to go too far here. But we just watched the state football playoffs in both Kansas and Missouri. There is D1 talent on both sides of the state line that is playing very, very well deep into these state football playoffs. And a lot of these guys are not necessarily committed to local schools. Look at a quarterback at Platte County, the Simone Award winner. He is the best quarterback in the state of Missouri. He is the best quarterback in this area. Where is he going to college? The University of Central Florida. Make that make sense to me. I know there's NIL involved. I know there's stuff going on, but this Kansas City area is under-recruited by the local schools. Think about maybe one of the best quarterbacks that K-State has had recently, Skylar Thompson. Where is he from? Kansas City area, Independence, Missouri. There are good football players in this area, and I think guys like Stanton Weber, guys like Trey Scott, guys like Colin Klein, they know, hey guys, we have a potential very fertile recruiting ground 2.5 hours away from our home in Kansas City, Missouri, that I think all three local schools, Kansas State, Kansas, and Missouri, are neglecting. So to me, to see those billboards downtown Kansas City, where is that? That's not in Kansas. That is in the state of Missouri. That looks to me like a place that they're trying to get a foothold in, and I'd love to see some of these local players go to these local schools, because Katie, I mean, you were out there on some of these Friday nights. Like, we're looking, they're committed all over the country. Why are they not committed to our local schools? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the number one. It should be the number one priority of any college, of any four-year program nowadays in the modern era. Even with NIL and the money and rev share and all that stuff, you still want to recruit out of your backyard. That should be every school's first priority, in my opinion. If you're, I mean, like, you bring up Rocco Marriott, and it's like, if you're a kid that gets that type of offer from, somewhere in the Big 12, like, sure, like, obviously it's awesome for him, go for it. But he was offered by Mizzou, so it begs the question of, like, what do these schools need to do to keep this talent where it is and keep it in Kansas and keep it in Missouri? And
maybe don't offer him 2 weeks before signing day. I don't know, crazy thought, but there's a lot of good talent here, and I wish these local schools would kind of see him. Hey, but if you want to see him first, you can see him on Friday Night Blitz in the fall right here on KCTV5, because we showcase the best and brightest from right here in our area. All right, guys, we have two more topics, a little less than 5 minutes to talk about them today, but we got to talk about this one. KU volleyball, the Jayhawks. They are in the Sweet 16 for the fourth time in program history, the first time since 2021. They are taking on top seed Nebraska. Katie, what a season this has been for KU. I think they're 24-10 right now, but they're going up against 32-0 Nebraska. Nebraska, they have they play volleyball games in the early fall at their football stadium because there's so much demand, so much interest.
They're sold out.
Yeah, no, this is a tall task here for KU, but kind of cool to see them in here. And then the national championship Final Four played right here in Kansas City. We were talking about this earlier in the sports office. You and I are both kind of surprised that volleyball is not more mainstream because it's a fun sport to watch.
Yeah, and I was saying, like, when you look at the spike in popularity in women's basketball, I think that softball is next, and then volleyball is going to follow it. Softball has Nyjah Kennedy. Volleyball just needs its, like, star. It needs its Caitlin Clark. It needs its Nyjah Kennedy. That's going to bring it to the next level. It's only a matter of time because I love watching women's college volleyball, especially when it comes to the postseason. I was watching the KU game and the K-State game last Friday night in downtown OP. So, like, it's fun, and, like, it was all over the TVs. People were watching it. People will see it. People will want to see it. It's literally entertaining. And it's these girls are freak athletes. They're awesome.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about what Matt Ulmer has done in just 1 year as the head coach at KU. When Ray Bouchard retired, it was like, KU he had built KU volleyball to become this, like, program of national stature. They were hosting NCAA regionals 2 years in a row at that point. And it was a big question of, like, who is Travis Goff going to find to fill this role? And he's able to poach Matt Ulmer from Oregon, from the Big Ten, the conference that Nebraska just played in, that Nebraska plays in, and he's taking them to Sweet 16. And KU hasn't been able to make it out of the second round for the last few years. So this is historic for a ton of reasons, but also given the fact that this is a first-year head coach at Kansas, and he was able to retain a lot of players as well. There weren't many transfers out of the program when he took over. So I'm rooting for them. I hope they can pull off the upset. It'd be crazy because Nebraska is just so good, but I think KU is really good too.
Hey, well, that's why they play the games. The favorites don't always win, and I love that you said that about the volleyball team, and this is why Katie Maher is such a great journalist, because that's exactly what the team said. They had as a first-year head coach, and they didn't know how it was going to turn out, but the way the team is rallied and built and all this stuff, here they are. We'll see if they can beat top-seeded Nebraska tonight, that game up there in Lincoln. We have one last topic, about 2 minutes to talk. Tomorrow, the 19th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks on the road at North Carolina State, as KU will play all 3 schools in the Research Triangle this year: North Carolina State, Duke, and the University and NC State. So how about that? So entering this game, KU 7-3, NC State 7-3, KU ranked number 19 in almost all the polls. We saw Darren Peterson return on Sunday. Katie, DP played pretty well against Missouri. Now he's got to take the show on the road. How are you feeling ahead of tomorrow's big game at NC State? I'm
excited to see DP continue to get back into the rhythm of playing. I think it is important for him to play before Big 12 play starts. Because if you kind of just throw him back into the mix, I think it would be just not a good situation. So I like the idea that he, is fully healthy, from what Bill Self says, and we're getting to see the magic happen. We got to see him in the border war. That's what fans wanted to see. So I'm excited to see how he plays against a team that, this program went to the Final Four 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, the Wolfpack, a tremendous program, very good. They play in the ACC, one of the best basketball conferences in the entire country. Very excited to see how this one turns out. We saw Darren Peterson have to, the game was a little bit in hand, a little bit of a blowout on Sunday, but he was getting his hamstring worked on the sidelines. Our sports director, Marlia Campbell, had a great story about this on Sunday night on KC Sports Tonight, kind of detailing that, hey, he was getting worked on. Self did say if the game was closer, maybe he would have gone back in. But again, Darren Peterson, when you're the future #1 overall pick, or at least potentially, people are going to want to know if you're on the floor. There's going to be a lot of injury information that people are going to be looking at there. So tomorrow, a tough road test there for the Kansas Jayhawks at North Carolina State, but we'll see how KU can play in their second game with Darren Peterson back, their first one on the road out there in North Carolina. So we'll have a recap of that game tomorrow night on KC Sports Tonight. But for now, that is a look at sports on this Red Friday edition of KC Sports Tonight. All right, Katie, 15 seconds. Chiefs, Chargers on Sunday, game prediction.
Chiefs win 24-21.
Wow, she's going to Chiefs win 24-21. I'm going to go Chiefs lose 24-20. But hey, let's hopefully we're saying something different on Sunday. We'll see you then. Take care, guys.